It's Deuce Loosely, Devil's favorite advocate, here for this week of February. No, it's not February anymore. It's March, Friday the 13th. I was going for the wrong F word there, but yes, it's Friday the 13th, which means tomorrow is March 14th, which means it's Pie Day. And I don't know about you, but I think I'm going to take part in some pie eating tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's the kind of pie that, you buy at the store and that you put on a plate and put whipped cream on and eat with a fork. So, anyway, sorry, Rock. Anyway, I realize lately that I am just one live stream account away from an actual podcast. But the thing is, I don't think anybody would really listen if I went live. So I may as well just record everything and take notes and do things like that because I'm just a one-man show. I'm a one-person deal. I can't, look at a live chat and do recording at the same time. I can't answer questions or, answer emails or whatever. I can't multitask that way. So I'm just going to continue recording these things, and I'm going to just talk about whatever comes up over the week. I really can't do topical anymore because usually the topics that I touch on I've done like a few times more than I should have. So just for the sake of variety and for the sake of moving on and moving forward and keeping things relatively fresh anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and report on the things that I pick up over the week. And they tend to come from a lot of different places, so I am just going to get started. I'm going to read my points as I have written them down, like in the order that I've written them down, because honestly, I don't number anything. I just write bullet points on a piece of paper with a pen. I do things the hard way, the long way, and I write everything down. I'm a purist, pen and paper, that kind of thing. So anyway, let's get started with, well, of course, why not? Let's get started with WWE. I will touch on why we always start with WWE a little bit later, but right now, I'm going to touch on something that has been coming up quite a lot lately. And it's something that hasn't happened as much since the 1990s steroid scandal in WWE. There are scandals and controversies plaguing WWE right now, not the least of which, well, let me just take these in the order that I wrote them down, like I said. Judas Devlin, he had this thing with Bill DeMott, a.k.a. Hugh Morris, in terms of the NXT training camp, or whatever you want to call it. And, talking about how he was, making, inappropriate remarks and treating everyone badly and going overboard with his training regimen or whatever. I mean, it's been reported that, WWE has told him even to, chill out. They've told him to cool off, to back, to kind of, ratchet it down a little bit, because he's too old school for this. He's too old school for what they need done with these guys nowadays. And apparently none of the warnings, none of the asides that he's been taking on have worked. And recently, over this past week, Bill DeMott has stepped down as the trainer for NXT. He is being replaced by the guy known as Jason Albert. Jason Albert, is that his name? I'm looking at my notes. Yeah, Jason Albert, a.k.a. A-Train, a.k.a. Big Albert, Tenzai, whatever you want to call him. But he is taking over as head trainer at NXT. And he couldn't be happier about it. He has expressed quite a bit that he is happy about this decision, and he is going to, take it for everything it's worth. So, and all of the locker room in NXT, the morale has gone way up ever since this happened. People are relieved that DeMott is gone. Morale has gone back up, and everyone is, ready to go. The mood has been lifted in the back, so things are all, hunky-dory once again in NXT on the training front. But this Judas Devlin thing against Bill DeMott, this lawsuit or whatever he's trying to put together, we'll have to wait and see how that one unfolds. Another thing that's been, and this claim from Judas Devlin. Sorry, I'm shifting in my chair here, making noise. This thing about WWE launching a full-on investigation and not being able to substantiate any of these claims. WWE investigating itself. It's like Chris Christie putting together his own counsel to investigate him on that Bridgegate scandal. It's like, what do you think is going to come back? What kind of decision do you think is really going to come back from that counsel? It's like, nope, we couldn't find anything wrong. You did nothing wrong, Mr. Christie. Everything's good. Carry on. It's the same thing with this Judas Devlin thing. WWE investigating itself and not coming up with anything. Duh, really? So, yeah, that was kind of a joke. And then, you can't, we can't forget, the CM Punk thing about all of his medical stuff. Them apparently missing a staph infection. And, there's other stuff, other stuff we all know about. ADR, Alberto Del Rio, a.k.a. El Patron, about the racism going on backstage. And he's just one of the more shining, testimonials about that. The treatment of women wrestlers, not so much in NXT, but definitely in the main roster on WWE. This Give Divas a Chance hashtag that's going around. We all know hashtags don't do anything. They don't mean anything in the world of professional wrestling. They don't mean anything anywhere. They're not going to get anything done. It takes action to make changes. And these women in WWE on the main roster, they're complaining about, it's like, why don't we get paid as much as the guys? Well, you don't do as much as the guys do. You get paid for the work you do. It's like, it's like, fine, you have a reality show on the E! Network, and you do these half-ass matches that people don't care about. They continue to not care about and don't want to see. They planned piss breaks around the Divas matches. So once you can step up your game, and once you can actually use your voice hashtag to get in the faces of the people in charge about letting you do what you came there to do, to wrestle and not be models or accessories to the guy wrestlers or whatever, once you do that, then maybe you can complain. But right now, don't complain about your pay rate, because it matches your work rate. You're not doing nearly as much as the guys do. If you do a cage match, then we'll talk, okay? Go talk to the TNA Knockouts and ask them how much work they do and how much they get paid for it. I bet you that they have no complaints about the way they're being treated. So, Divas, you got it light. So, either shut up or take action and change things around there. You want to perform? Make sure that they let you perform. It's up to you. Let's see, there's also, and once again I'll ask, all of these other things, about Lesnar and McMahon still, sticking to their own corners of this, ring of, mediation over a contract. It's like, Vince wants to renegotiate Brock Lesnar's contract. Lesnar's not happy with it, and it's been more than 2 weeks now. Lesnar is still not happy with it, and Vince refuses to budge. So the tension is still there. Nothing has changed in the situation between Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon. So WrestleMania could be rather interesting. Let's stay tuned for that one. But what I'm trying to figure out right now is when, since the 90s steroid scandal, or before the 90s steroid scandal, has the WWE been in so much trouble with scandals and claims and people coming against them? When have they ever had this much trouble? I mean, I don't recall there being such a shitstorm surrounding them. And, this... And how is this going to affect the network in the long term? I mean, the scandals caused a lot of people to turn sour on WWF when the steroids thing came up. It turned a lot of people sour on Hulk Hogan because they found out that he was using them. And it's starting to happen again. People are seeing WWE from the inside. They're seeing what it's about. All the stories are coming out, and in this age of digital media, it's really easy to find things out. So they're really not able to hide any of these things. And, as long as we're backstage at WWE, let's talk about a little bit about these backstage meetings that keep happening before Raw. This past week, there was another meeting between the upper management and the wrestlers. They were talking about, they were trying to tell the wrestlers how much they appreciate what they're doing and the work that they put in and how valuable an asset they are to WWE. It's just another rah, go team session. And it really didn't amount to anything. Not that, anybody could tell. Not that this was just another, basically management sucking up to the people that work for them, practically begging them not to leave, I guess. Because they're having such problems with Lesnar, they're having problems with the Divas, they're having problems with with a lot of the main roster, pretty much because of NXT guys getting better treatment. And I have something to say about NXT in a little bit. Just bear with me for a bit. Other things that have been going on. In terms of the WWE Hall of Fame, we heard who was not inducted into the Hall of Fame, but being given some kind of award for the Hall of Fame. And some kid with brain cancer or something. I don't know what it's about. I didn't really pay attention. But one guy who's not getting into the Hall of Fame this year is Ray the Crippler Stevens. He is not being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, but Kevin Nash, a.k.a. Diesel, will be. And, they're inducting him in as Diesel. So... why the Crippler Stevens is not being inducted is anybody's guess. I'm sure it'll come out sooner or later, but it's not going to happen this year. So there it is. Let's see, I mentioned the roster meeting. Moving over to Global Force Wrestling for a second. They are close to announcing actual dates for television tapings, which are maybe going to happen in Las Vegas and potentially happening in May or July, or May to July. Details are still kind of sketchy, but this is Global Force Wrestling we're talking about. This is Jarrett's organization. This is the same guy that said that there was going to be a wrestling boom period again. And this was within the past year that he said this, and I see something bubbling up, but it's definitely not a boom. I think Jarrett needs to consult his thesaurus or consult his dictionary and find a better word to describe what's going on now. But as far as their television tapings, would somebody please tell me what television deal Global Force has? Because I haven't heard of one. As far as I can tell, they don't have one yet. They haven't announced anything about it. And they're certainly making a mistake by not promoting themselves as having a television deal, if indeed they do have one. And it's anybody's guess what this is all about, but this is the report that's coming out of Global Force. TV tapings possibly in Vegas, May or July. Yeah, I don't know. Keep an eye out for that if you have the time to, or if you feel so inclined. Let's see, Sheamus. Update on Sheamus. Okay, so you know how The Undertaker is not going to make any television appearances until WrestleMania? Well, apparently they're doing the same thing with Sheamus. It's anybody's guess what his role in WrestleMania is going to be. Speculation is it's going to be him as part of the Money in the Bank hardcore title intercontinental ladder match that's going to happen, or the Andre the Giant Battle Royal thing. One or the other, that's what's being speculated, but Sheamus will not appear on TV, apparently, until WrestleMania. I don't know why they're saving him until then. Maybe they're going to make a big deal about him that merits him waiting until WrestleMania to appear. We shall see, but honestly, I don't see Sheamus as being that big a deal as to wait until WrestleMania to bring him back. So, that's one thing to wait for. And what I meant was talking about before about NXT. Apparently WWE, I'm using apparently a lot because I'm leaving a little bit of room for doubt. Things change. WWE has a tendency to change plans, from day to day. So, it could be anybody's guess if any of this stuff is going to change, but this is what we're getting. This is what I'm getting right now. WWE is apparently changing their attitude towards NXT. They are looking to make NXT its own brand. Called it. NXT is apparently going, they're doing road shows now. They're doing house shows. And I'm waiting for them to do live events on television. I'm waiting for them to be given an actual television deal. I've been saying for the longest time, this is what they need to do with NXT. Make them their own brand extension. And apparently, from what I'm hearing, it's happening. Because right now, the upper management of WWE is looking at contract expirations from Ring of Honor. They have their eye on Ring of Honor at the time, and they are looking towards making NXT less of a feeder camp for the main roster of WWE, and they're looking towards the independents to bring up to NXT to boost that as its own brand. And I see this as extremely plausible, and once again, called it a long time ago. I was waiting for this to happen, and apparently this is coming to fruition finally. And honestly, this needed to happen because the network is only holding NXT down. The network is not doing NXT any favors by limiting their viewership. They're not being measured in ratings, in Nielsen ratings anyway. And you can't guarantee that all of the network subscribers are tuning in to NXT. Speaking of subscribers, I wonder what their numbers are at right now. They certainly wouldn't report it if it dipped below 1 million. They certainly wouldn't make that, public news. I mean, we'll find out anyway at some point, but I have to wonder where exactly their subscriber numbers are right now after, that free month of February was done. So, yeah, there you have it. That's pretty much the news that I have over the past week. There was a lot to get through this week. A lot of stuff going on. And then there's just a few things that I want to get to. I was thinking the other day, I was walking around doing my, errands and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, about the situation with WWE, between them and NXT, between them and the network, and just, things in general. And it brought to mind, why do we talk about WWE so much? We'll spend like 90% of our recordings or our podcasts or whatever talking about WWE, and we'll spend a little bit of time, little sliver of time here and there. Maybe we'll make a separate show about the other promotions, about the other shows. And the reason is, WWE is the biggest promotion in the world. They're not the best. They're definitely not the best. They're just the biggest. And they tend to generate more news, good or bad, about themselves than anyone else ever could. And they have this huge multimedia conglomerate, they have this machine within themselves to pump out all this news and all these, items and stuff that we hear from day to day. And it's that media machine that keeps their name out there. And yeah, okay, in order for these other promotions to grow and to get bigger, they need a machine similar to what WWE has to promote themselves. But in a way, I'm kind of glad they don't, because what WWE has become, it's watered down. It's oversaturating television programming. It is diluting itself pretty much. And it has way too much television programming. They have 2 low to mid card shows. They have Main Event and they have Superstars. I don't even really qualify them as viable shows anymore. This is where the main roster, this is where the upper mid card to the upper card go for jobber tune-up matches. And that's about it. Other than that, neither of those shows really have anything to offer that anybody cares about. And SmackDown is just a 2-hour promotion commercial for Raw. So, they really need to cut down on that. They need to cut down on the number of pay-per-views they do each year. And speaking of that, that's another thing I thought of. I brought up the point earlier this week on the FTW podcast, on the live chat. Since I don't actually speak on the podcast, I just put in on the live chat. And, they brought up something that I posted there. And I said something to the effect of, I feel that WrestleMania is just another pay-per-view. It's nothing special this year. There's really not a whole lot to look forward to. And my phone is going off. That's what you keep hearing in the background. And anyway... like you needed to know that. But yeah, the reason that it feels so much like WrestleMania is just another show, it's because of the network. It's the network's fault. Well, it's WWE's fault for coming up with a network and for offering pay-per-views for free, aka $9.99 a month. And what are you gonna do? I mean, you're offering a pay-per-view each month for $10, and basically you get what you pay for. So a lot of times, I'd say one pay-per-view out of every 4 or 5 is worth, more than what you pay for the network each month. WrestleMania, I don't know. I'm still not sure whether or not it's going to be worth more than $10, but they're going to blow their wad on the production and everything else, but the quality overall is going to be $10. You get what you pay for. And this is where the network has affected quality in WWE. Raw has become an undercard show, an undercard level show, an undercard quality show. The general pay-per-views have become what Raw episodes used to be, and the flagship pay-per-views have become what the regular pay-per-views used to be. There is no show throughout the year for WWE that reaches the precedent that they set for themselves so long ago. They just can't reach that bar anymore. Either that or they won't. I don't know which way to go in that thinking, but the fact of the matter is they're not producing the way they used to. And it's only because they're not charging more than $10 a month for it. And again, you get what you pay for. So the reason basically that you're seeing such low quality in the pay-per-views anymore, the reason that you're not seeing WrestleMania level WrestleManias anymore is because you're not paying WrestleMania price for it anymore. $10 a month, that's what they're giving you. And that's the quality that you get. And in terms of the network, I have to wonder if NXT is actually working against WWE. If it's actually a downfall for WWE. Maybe this is why they're talking about turning them into their own brand. Maybe this is why they're talking about making NXT its own promotion. Because having it connected to WWE, you're having people watching Raw and screaming about who they want called up, who should come up to the main roster, who is not getting the call up that should be, who deserves it. The more that WWE is connected to NXT, the more we're going to hear this, and the louder we're going to hear this. So, I'm not saying that that's part of the reason why they're talking about doing this with, brand thing with NXT, but I'm sure it factors in somehow. But NXT is obviously a better product. It's a product that people are more enthusiastic about than they are the main roster on WWE. And this is working against them. This is working against the main roster. You hear it all the time. You hear it about, the backstage at WWE. It's like, why do the guys on NXT get so much better matches? Why do they get so much more time? Why do they have so much better stories? Why are they getting so much... Why is everything so much better over there? We're on the main roster. Why aren't we getting this treatment? They're supposed to be developmental, and the developmental is honestly outshining the main roster in a lot of ways, and I think they, in the higher ups in WWE, recognize this. So maybe they figure it's time to cut the apron strings and set this baby on its own course, and so they're putting it on the road. Finally, they're putting NXT on the road. Step number 1 into becoming your own promotion. I wonder who's going to take over if they decide to actually cut the rope and let it float on its own. Not that I think that will happen, because it's probably making WWE some money. But anyway, I'm looking at my notes here, trying to read my own writing. Yeah, once again, like I said, the morale in the locker room is high in NXT. They've been doing live house shows, which have been well received. The audiences really dig the NXT shows. Obviously, they're not getting the same treatment as audiences for TNA, for NXT, for Ring of Honor. They're not getting the same. They're not giving the business to the wrestlers like they do on the main roster in WWE. The audiences for WWE programming are unique in this respect, as far as I can tell. And I can't blame them. I really can't. You give somebody a crappy product, they're going to give you the business about it. And this is what's happening. They don't give NXT the business because it's a great show. They don't give TNA the business because it's a good show. They don't give Ring of Honor the business that I know of because they put on a good show. Well, they put on, from what I've heard, they put on an okay show. It's not like all the bells and whistles and whatnot, but every show should stand some improvement, but it's not a WWE audience. There it is. Now, I think I've come to the end of this. I'm looking for more notes and I'm not finding any. But, basically, there's a lot of talk going around about, WWE is beleaguered with scandals, and there's so much crap going on. There's such a shitstorm surrounding them, and people are just getting sour with WWE, and they're seeing the lower quality that's being offered with the main shows, and it's starting to wear on the fans. They're turning to NXT for better entertainment. They're turning to TNA, not so much, but there are people who are looking for alternatives to WWE. They're looking towards Lucha Underground. They're looking towards New Japan. They're looking towards Ring of Honor. They might even look towards Global Force if they ever have a television deal. But the fact of the matter is, even though people are still tuning in to WWE, most likely in hopes that it will get better, right now they're looking for other avenues. They're looking for better sources to get their wrestling fix. So, anyway, there is my ramble for the week, and those are the things that I've brought to the table. I'm not going to hit you with sponsors. I'm not going to hit you with commercials because, honestly, I have no sponsors. I don't think this show is worthy of a sponsor. Not that I would know how to get one. Not that I would know what to do with one if I had one. But, like I said, this is a one-man show. And, it's evident. So, anywho, this has been Deuce Loosely, Devil's Favorite Advocate. And that's it for this week. I'll talk to y'all next week when I have more stuff and things to tell you. Later.